This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Stories, The True and the Fictional. We've got another great guest, but before we bring her in, remember to check out our sponsors, Rebecca Cassells, Martin Kearns. They've got some great books out. My book, Ancora, has been out for a few months now. Check that out. But I don't want to delay. Ryan, how are we? We going well today?
Living the dream, mate. Living the dream. Okay. Not much sleep was had last night. Because after our late night interview, we finished at about 12:30, and I didn't get to sleep till about 3:30.
Wow.
3:30, just because I made the stupid decision to have an energy drink just as we started recording that interview, and it kept me awake for quite a while. So I woke up about 9:30 this morning. So
cool.
Enough time to wake up and get the juices flowing.
Cool. Well, now that the juices are flowing, let's jump right in. Lisa Amowitz, thank you for joining us.
Hi. All the way from across the sea.
That's it. We hardly ever talk to Australians. Apparently we're not interesting enough.
Why? Why? Australians aren't interesting enough for you?
No. Well, our sponsor, we have a sponsor from the UK and a sponsor from New York. So
okay. Well, then then I fit right in because that's where I am at this moment. Done.
Yeah.
The beautiful Bronx.
Bronx. Oh yes.
Yeah, but I'm not in the kind of Bronx. When you think of the Bronx, you would be very surprised at the Bronx I'm in.
My because I grew up watching New York in cartoon form, I'm familiar with all the terms.
Yeah, but
no, it's not the same.
Strange vision of what New York is like.
Yeah.
And nobody understands how varied and gigantic it is.
Yeah. Well, before we get too crazy, the question we'd like to ask is, for those who don't know, who is Lisa Amowitz?
Who is Lisa Amowitz? How do I answer that? I am an artist and a writer and a professor and a graphic designer and a mother of very old people that grew up and left the home quite a while ago. My kids are pretty interesting and accomplished in their own right. I have written young adult novels primarily, but I am poised on the brink of changing genres. So I'm changing. I guess it has something to do with my kids because I started writing YA 20 years ago when my oldest kid was around 14 and he's about to turn 34, and I don't understand teenagers anymore. I teach college and they're like kind of quasi teenagers. They're like 18, 19, 20, and I don't understand them. So they don't understand teenagers. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't write YA anymore. So I'm actually writing a paranormal mystery with main characters that are more like my age. Old.
Write
really
what
old.
you know. Write what you know.
Yeah, old. Old people. I understand them.
Yeah, that's it. Or you could have written it in an era that's, when you were a teenager. Yeah.
Right. It would be like the Dark Ages in the last century, and nobody wants to read about that.
Yeah.
Really. No, nobody wants to read a historical fiction that took place in the 70s.
Yeah. I don't know. I like a lot of 70s movies.
All right. Yeah, I'm like of that generation that was too young for the really cool part of the 60s. Like all that. Like I don't have like that kind of experience, but just generally old otherwise.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're gonna
because I write YA, but I'm like, I'm coming out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm like out with it.
Cool. So we've got a bit of tradition here on the podcast. We like to do icebreaker questions just to break the ice, have a bit of fun before we
Okay.
talk about your writing and all the good
Okay.
stuff.
Do I get to
Um,
know about you guys?
yeah, well, you can people sometimes people ask us the questions back.
Can I ask you about you two?
Yeah,
What's your deal?
what's the deal?
No, you
Um,
guys are both writers, right?
oh,
No, I'm not. I'm
Ryan's a
not a
reader.
writer.
Ryan's the reader.
You're a
I'm
reader.
the writer.
Okay. I love readers.
Yeah.
Other writers are cool too, but I prefer I like readers more.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, go do your thing and you'll
The-
tell me about yourself later.
yeah.
Yourselves
All
later.
right. Take it away, Ryan. I'll let you go this time.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so picture this. We live in a world of no war. It's all peace. There's no cruelty to animals. There's no cruelty to other people.
Let me
So
put on my
given that in mind, what is one thing that you would get rid of from if you could? So
oh
selfish
in the
answer.
world in the world there where there's no cruelty to animals.
Yeah. He's basically
No,
saying,
no crime, no
don't give us the
nothing.
political answers. Give us
Yeah,
your
give
pet
it the selfish
peeves.
answer.
Am I allowed?
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, this is going to show up in the United States, and I eventually want to leave the country and go on vacation, and I want to get back in.
Hmm.
You get my drift? Um, I would get rid of billionaires.
Billionaires.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like I don't mind millionaires. You
Yeah.
know, millionaires are fine. I'd love to be a millionaire, but what's the point of a billionaire? You know,
Mm,
like who needs that much money?
yeah.
You know, and why those people always want even more? It's never enough for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they could,
Yeah, I
if
can
they
agree
could
with that.
I would also get rid of snakes. I don't like them.
don't come to Australia.
Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. Can we get rid of mosquitoes? Like,
Yes. Yes.
I'll keep the snakes.
Yeah.
You know, they don't really, unless they're poisonous, they don't bother anybody.
Yeah.
You probably have poisonous snakes. We don't have too much of that in New York. We have something called copperheads, but they're not really.
Yeah.
I think if you go swimming in the pond, maybe you'd find one.
Yeah.
But you know, in New York, basically the most treacherous animals are humans.
Mm. No, that's cool. I can get behind that. I hate mosquitoes, especially when I'm trying to
Yeah.
sleep and they just.
Do you have really large ones in Australia, like super big
No,
ones?
no. I don't think they get. Well, not where I live anyway.
Just regular size.
Yeah, just regular.
Where are you in Australia? See, I told you I'm gonna ask you questions. I've never
Uh,
been there. I would like
yeah.
to go.
East Coast. I'm in the mountains
Name,
west of
name,
Sydney.
name. Oh, okay. So is it like suburban or really rural, like uh, rural
Oh,
commuting bedroom communities,
yeah.
Sydney?
Ryan's in suburbia. I'm
Mhm.
literally in a mountain town that's probably not even 2,000 people, and it's
Oh,
like
wow.
it's suburbia in the mountains. Like we've got small blocks. Most of the blocks are pretty small. So I can look out my window and see my neighbor. You know,
But how close to Sydney actually are you? Like if you wanted
it's
to go to Sydney for lunch or
it's
something.
an hour and a half drive.
Oh, okay, that's pretty far. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of New York City, so I mean, if there was no traffic, it would be an hour, but no traffic?
Yeah.
When does that ever happen? Maybe at 4 in the morning.
No, well,
So,
that's Sydney. Like if there was no traffic, it'd be an hour away.
so it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Because my aged mom still lives in the house I grew up in out. It's called, okay, I'm gonna try to say this so I don't sound like total New Yorker. I used to get mocked for this, you
Mm.
know. I mean, there's a lot of accents in the United States,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like, I'm sure you have a lot of accents too. I just couldn't tell the difference. Just like in the UK, they have a lot of accents, but
Yep.
when they hear an American, they have no idea where you're from. And I'm like, you don't know where I'm from?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I have no idea. I'm like, you can't tell? Can't tell where
Yeah.
I'm from?
Yeah.
And they're like, you're right. We have no idea. So, I grew up having a very strong New York accent.
Mm.
So I'm from Long Island.
Long
And
Island.
when
Yeah.
I was,
Mhm.
when I went to college in Pittsburgh, where the accent is quite different, And somebody asked me, oh, actually, a woman from Atlanta who ended up becoming a famous actress. She was the first person I met when I went to college. She says, "Hi, I'm Holly Hunter." Remember
Yeah,
her? Holly Hunter, the actress. "Hi, I'm Holly Hunter. I'm from Atlanta. Where
yeah.
are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from Long Island."
That's funny.
I got really badly teased. So I try not to sound like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to say Long Island.
Hmm.
But we don't think of it as an island, which is Long Island. It's just a
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. All right, let's move on to the next one. What's something on your bucket list?
How about going to Australia? Actually, a lot of things, a lot of places are on my bucket list. I guess the first thing, okay, wait. Um, what? Oh God, I just thought of something. I mean, I really want to travel. There's so many things to see. And you know, this is like hilarious, but when I go to the gym, I do those virtual reality things on the treadmill,
Yeah.
and they have some
Mhm.
really beautiful walks. And one of the ones that like just killed me was somewhere in the southeast United States, these like painted canyons. And I'm like, I want to go see that. You know, like there's so many places I haven't been. So I guess just travel everywhere. And I, the pandemic really kind of screwed me up. I
Hmm.
had just my best friend and I had gone to Barcelona, like, and we came back from Barcelona on January 1st, 2020. January 21st, 2020, and that was like the first day of the first case of that was reported in the United States. And then, you know, and then I travel inside the country, but I haven't. Oh, that, you know, I went to Mexico 2 years ago. Okay, so I have traveled. But you know, every time I decide I want to travel, there's a reason why I can't.
Hmm.
So I guess the first thing, the really most pathetic thing on my bucket list that's embarrassing is that I've never been to Italy. So I would say Italy is top places in the United States that I really want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go to Japan. I just want to go everywhere.
Cool. I want to go to
I like
Japan
that.
at some point.
Travel's always it's always a good it's a good thing to have on your bucket list because it's an achievable
What's that?
thing. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's a good thing to have on your
Travel.
bucket list. Travel because it's
Yeah,
achievable.
it
It's
is.
something that you
It
can
is.
definitely
You
achieve
could
with a
do
bit
it.
of saving and exactly.
Yeah,
So you know, a lot of people have unrealistic things
right,
on their bucket list. You
right.
know, like
One,
climb the pyramids or you know.
no, I don't have that on my bucket list. I probably have other things on my bucket list that I forgot because you kind of caught me off guard. I'm sure there's something. Um, I don't know, like publish more books. I mean, that's kind of boring. But retire.
That's inevitable.
Oh, I know what's on my bucket list. I want to become more handy. Like I'm actually learning how to assemble furniture. I bought a whole bunch of new furniture from IKEA. You probably heard of IKEA. I'm sure they have that
Yep.
there. IKEA's everywhere. And I had some friends come and help me assemble it. And I have my drill. I have a pink drill. And I'm like, my chairperson was helping me learn how to use a drill. And he's like, no, I have to hold it straight and press down on it. And I'm like, oh my God, I really want to be like a person who could build stuff. You know, like I do. I want to be a
Hmm.
person who could just hang stuff up and build stuff. I'm like, and not be this lame, frail, ridiculous person who can't do that. So
Cool.
I'd
Okay.
love to have a really
All
nice
right.
garden, but
But
okay, well, that's my answer.
That's right.
no worries. All right. Question number three is, in your opinion, what is the greatest sitcom ever made?
The greatest sitcom ever made. Oh, well, obviously Seinfeld.
Yep, that's a
And then
common answer.
Yeah,
the second
I
one would
can.
be, I don't know if you guys even heard of this, but the second one would be All in the Family. Have you heard of that?
Uh, I've heard of it. I haven't I've never watched
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah,
a bit of an older one.
well, it's very old and it's very American and I don't know how much it traveled around the world. But it's before your time. Um, you know, definitely your time, Ryan. And I don't know how old you are, J.A. What's your name? J.A. What's your first name?
Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah.
I mean, my guess would be you would have either been a newborn or something, because it's a very old show.
Yeah.
But I grew up
Yeah.
on that show,
Mm.
and it was a hilarious show. It was about this. It would never fly now. It's so politically incorrect in so many ways. So was Seinfeld, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Excellent. All right. The
We
next
need we need more of the we need more of the we need more
political
of the
incorrect.
politically incorrect shows now. Because yeah, like everything just way too woke for me, and I don't enjoy things like I
Well,
used to. You know?
I mean, that's a can of worms. I believe that I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of it was very, very sexist. And I really can't say I object to
Mm.
things not being sexist. And, a lot of it was harsh on people unnecessarily. So I mean, people call it woke, but I mean, sometimes it gets carried away, but I feel like we should be respectful of each other. And I
Mm.
know when I watch some really old shows and I see just how women are talked to and treated and objectified, and it pisses me off. And I realize I just accepted that, all those
Yeah.
years, and then now I watch it, I'm like, and LGBTQ stuff and racial stuff. A lot of it is really, I don't miss that stuff. I don't think we
No.
need that stuff. We could still be funny without it, without like making fun of other people and demeaning other people. So, you could call, I mean, sometimes it gets too carried away, for sure, the woke, the wokiness. But
Mm.
I think just being um respectful gets branded as that word woke that people
Yeah.
don't like. And, that's what's going on here in the United States right now.
Mm.
It's a little, the pendulum has like kind of, um, it kind of just broke and flew away.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, come on. This is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
what are we proving here? But I'm going to try not to be too political because I don't
Yeah.
want to get like removed.
That's all right. That's all right. Next question.
I
What's your
mean,
zo
I mean, you got a place for me? You got an extra bed? I may get exiled to
Yeah.
Australia.
Uh, then you just get bitten by snakes and mosquitoes.
Oh dear. But I'd
Um,
have a lot of shrimps. I'd get a lot of
yes, you would.
barbecue.
That's it. All right, let's move on to the next one. What is your zombie apocalypse plan?
To come to Australia. That would
Okay.
be really hard to do though. That's not practical. My zombie apocalypse plan is probably just to die in my apartment, just
Yeah.
just get a lot of food and wait.
Yeah.
Maybe learn how to shoot a gun and just wait and shoot at zombies. I mean, I can't even imagine what the zombie apocalypse would be like in the Bronx. It would
Mm.
just be a regular day. I had to say that. No, it's not like that where I live. I
No.
mean, the Bronx gets a very bad rap. I'm here to represent the Bronx,
Uh,
and I'm just going to make a little side chat here, talk about a tangent. I teach at Bronx Community College, of which I am very proud. And we have a stunningly beautiful campus that used to be NYU. We have historic buildings and lots of grass and greenery. It's beautiful. And just Friday, we had this panel called the Designer's Blueprint that was put on by my former students. And one of my former students is this guy who calls himself the Bronx native. And you should look him up on Instagram. Come on, go look up this guy. His name is Amaris Goujon, and he is the Bronx native. And his whole job, he has built a business around promoting the Bronx and getting people to think of it as a great place, which it is. We have the zoo, we have botanical gardens, we have Little Italy. You know, So maybe the zombie apocalypse would be good. I don't know. The Bronx would be a weird place though to have a zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse because there's a lot of people here, so there'd be a lot of zombies. I know. Maybe go upstate and hold myself up in my house upstate. That might be better.
You
I
know,
would be the first to die. I'd be like the first to die in that movie. I wouldn't last long. I'm really not very tough.
yeah. I mean, and
I'm
this is
very
just
small. I'm a
this is
very small
yeah.
person.
And this is just from an outside perspective as someone who's not even. I've just always imagined the Bronx being probably the worst place to have a zombie apocalypse.
You know, it probably would be because it would be like just too many people, you know,
Yeah.
and there wouldn't really be a lot of good places to hide. Although maybe Bronx Community College would be a good place to hide. You know, we
Yeah.
could kind of just all hole up there in our, Hall of Fame and in the rotunda there and just keep people out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just rally behind the Bronx native. Is he?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he would just go, yeah. You should look him up. I'm promoting him. Hey,
I
Amaris, I'm promoting you.
yeah. All right, no, I've
Look
looked
him
him
up.
up. I've looked him up. I'm looking at
he's
him
a
right
wild.
now.
You see him?
Yep.
He actually he says to me, "You got to walk into a room like you own it, like you're a
Yeah.
star." And my own kid was at this panel. The designer, because my kid's a graphic designer, and they said to me, they go, he is really like he gives just celebrity energy. I go, he does, and he created that, and I was there. I know him when I knew him since he was like 17,
Yeah.
and he was my student, and he used to sit there like this. I talk. And I said,
Yeah.
one day things are going to be different for you.
Yeah.
I never expected what he's doing now.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking right now at a photo of him and Luis Guzman, the actor.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
He gets around. I mean, my college itself is obsessed with him. It's like, and sometimes they forget. I'm like, he was my student, right?
Yeah.
He shows up for us.
Yeah.
He's grateful.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's trying to rebrand the Bronx because people think like you're gonna get shot when you walk down the street, but it's not like that.
Yeah. No, it looks. Yeah, I'm gonna have a deep dive into this later when I'm not in the middle of an interview. It looks. I followed him, so it's
Great.
cool.
I mean, look, he's a showman. He's a real, it's great. And he's a really good graphic designer too.
Yeah, I can see.
He is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm distracted.
Hey, Morris, you see, I'm promoting you on my own podcast. Good God.
That's
Well, you know
right.
who you could look up? You could look up my crazy son.
Your crazy son.
Look up, my son, the picture that you saw. My son's a photographer, and he's much more famous and popular than I am. Much more. His name is Ben Zank, Zank, and he and Amaris actually kind of knew each other and ran into each other on the street once. It was hilarious. Anyway, so yeah, I should talk about myself, but I really don't like to.
Right.
I'd rather talk about other people.
Yeah.
But okay,
No,
I'm sorry.
we've got one more
You told me
icebreaker
it's
to
okay
go.
to get off on a tangent,
Yep.
so I did.
Bring us home with the next the last icebreaker, Ryan, and
Okay.
we'll get into the good stuff.
No worries. Okay,
Already
so
half hour is gone.
okay, so Bill and Ted show up in their telephone time booth machine and say, "Whoa, Rufus has asked us to test out our telephone booth time machine. Where do you go?"
Wait, I'm sorry.
A free trip in a time machine.
Oh, and who is it that shows up?
Bill and Ted. Do you remember an old movie called Bill and Ted?
Oh yeah.
With
I
Keanu
didn't really know
Reeves.
that well. Yeah, well, you're wearing this hat that, I probably would hate it there, but I do have a kind of fixation on the Revolutionary War, and I really would like to meet actual Alexander Hamilton.
Cool.
I wouldn't want to have like a thing with him.
No.
I would just want to say, hey, dude, he ended up like making some waves,
Yeah. Yeah. We actually had that answer a few weeks ago. Um,
Oh, wow.
someone
Interesting.
someone else from New York, not Long Island,
Well,
somewhere else.
he's from New York. I
Someone
mean,
else from
his
New York wanted to,
he
yeah,
is a New Yorker. He
yeah.
he lived all over this city. He lived in the Wall Street area. He lived in uptown and in the Harlem area. I mean, if you saw the musical Hamilton, you could tell. And also, this is a really ridiculous aside, but I have a very good friend in Colombia who I have never met in person, but we Zoom occasionally. And she has a 15-year-old son who is absolutely obsessed with Hamilton.
Mm.
They both speak English incredibly, like better than a lot of New Yorkers. And this kid like could just sing whole songs out of it. And so I said to him once, he was lurking behind his mom, I said, "Hey, Maddie," I said, "you know what?" He's like, "What?" I go, "I live 3 miles north of Lin-Manuel Miranda." He goes, "You do? Do you know him?" I go, "Hell no.
No.
Have you ever been to New York? Nobody
Mm.
knows any, you're
Yeah,
never going to see somebody. There's famous people all the time, and they wouldn't
yeah,
know me from a hill of beans,
yeah.
but I do.
Yeah, that's it. I like
I
Lin-Manuel.
drive past his homeland all the time.
Yeah. So where his house is, or do you just like roughly?
No,
No,
it's
just
an area
roughly,
called
roughly. Yeah,
Washington. It's called Washington Heights. And it's when you drive from where I live in a part of the Bronx called Riverdale. I'm right on the
yeah,
Hudson River. And there's the West Side Highway. A lot of people don't drive in New York, but I have a car because Riverdale is a little bit like a suburb, not
yeah.
really, but sort of. So I actually own a car. And when I go to the city, I drive down and I drive right past George Washington Bridge is there, and that's around where he grew up. I don't know if he lives there anymore. He might have something there. I don't know. He could afford to live wherever he wants.
Yes, with that Hamilton money. Um,
Yeah, he deserves it,
yeah.
I
Oh,
think.
yeah. He made a
If there's one
masterpiece.
celebrity if you want to ask me a celebrity I want to meet, it would be him.
Yeah,
He is the one.
he's the one. Cool, cool. Well, we've done the icebreakers, so let's get into the good stuff.
Okay.
Tell us about your writing journey. How'd you get started? How'd you get to where you are?
Oh God, where am I? I'm here. I'm not really that anywhere really.
No.
I'm sitting in an apartment in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I'm not like famous. Um, but I've put out a bunch of books and okay, so how did I get here? Well, I think I mentioned earlier on that um I'm primarily an artist and I always drew and I grew up wanting to be an illustrator. So I went to a school in Pittsburgh called Carnegie Mellon, which is quite a good school. And I was one of the first people in their illustration class. So I graduated from there with a BFA in illustration. And I'm like, what am I doing? Can I really make a living at this? No, you cannot. No, you're delusional. You just spend all those years going to school. So I was very lucky in that I kind of worked my way up in graphic design, doing something that maybe you never heard of, called paste ups and mechanicals. Have you heard of that? It
No.
was all okay. Predate the computer. I predate the computer. So I worked in this ad agency and in various places where I would cut little strips of paper and lay them flat and make an ad that way. And it was a hilarious the place where I worked should have been a sitcom. It was the most ridiculous place. And all of the people I worked with would have been completely like me too'd out of existence with the
Mm.
stuff that used to go on there. But anyway, but that place is where I learned the computer. The Macs came in. I learned the Mac. I became a graphic designer, like literally on the job. And then I was lucky because of my advanced knowledge, I got this gig to become a professor. And, I loved it. I love it. I still love it. But anyway, I'm really leading to where this is actually leading to, I became a writer. So I always wanted to write a children's book, but I didn't really want to write a children's book. I wanted to illustrate a children's book. And I had written some really pathetic story, like when I was in my 20s, that never went anywhere. And so here I am, I'm a professor, and I wanted to get tenure, right? I had to like get grants and get published and do stuff to become a professor of graphic design, not anything, real scholarly. So I'm like, oh, okay, I need to do a grant, and I want a laptop. So I'll do a grant for a children's book. Yeah. So I got the grant to do a children's book, right? So I was like, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I'm gonna pick up that really bad old story that I wrote, and it shouldn't be too hard to do, and then I can illustrate it. And I got the grant, like I'm doing all these illustrations, and I start writing the story, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? What am I writing? Am I writing a picture book? No, I'm not. What am I writing? And so I sat down one day with index cards, and I started to write these characters down. This was 20 some odd years ago, right? Actually, 22 years ago. And I'm writing and I'm writing and I'm writing and I'm writing and I'm writing. And 2 years later, I'm like, what did I just do? I wrote a novel. I wrote a young adult novel. I had no idea what I was doing. And it was awful, terrible. But the damage was done. And I became obsessed. And it was to the point where I could not stop. And my best friend says to me, what's wrong with you? She goes, you're very weird lately, like weirder than usual, because you're weird, but you're like even weirder than usual. Like you never want to talk to me. You're so preoccupied. Are you on drugs? And I'm like, no, I've been writing. And she looks at me, she's like, oh. I should tell you, my other best friend was reading it all along. She read the damn thing. And God help her, she liked it. It was so bad. But that was it. That was the dawn of my writing career. And I don't know how many books I've written since then. But somehow from 2005, okay, so said friend got an editor to look at my horrible, no good, rotten book. And the editor basically said, I don't know how to tell you this, but tell your friend she should keep her day job because like, I don't know, this is bad. But a normal person might have gotten discouraged, but I am not a normal person. So I'm like, well, I'm kind of, I have an MFA and I'm successful professor and, I've done all these things, but what's going to be really hard to do? Oh, I think I'll become a writer. So I joined a critique group, an online critique group where they ripped me to shreds for 3 years. And that was like grad school for me. And after those 3 years, I actually got an agent, but that's a whole other story. But I would say after 3 years of that, I kind of knew how to write, but it was very humbling because, being a good writer in school is different than writing fiction, as you know. If you've ever read the manuscripts of an English teacher, I don't know if you've ever had like beta read for an English teacher.
No.
No. I used to be this something called a Pitch Wars mentor. I don't know if you heard of Pitch Wars. It doesn't exist anymore, but I was a Pitch Wars mentor, and I'd get all these manuscripts, and you would get like something from an English teacher, and I mean, I'm not saying it would be any worse than anything else. It's just that if you told them there was a problem, they'd be like, well, I'm an English teacher.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm like, I'm a dumb bunny. I'm an artist. I have things in my head and I'm just trying to figure out how to put them into words. I don't know how to do it. So rip me. Yeah. I just let myself get ripped. And I think that was really good. I think that's how I learned to write. So that's my origin story.
Cool. Yeah. So, you got your agent. How'd that happen? Was that something you were looking for, or did it just happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first started writing, I had a lot of ambitions, and a lot of dreams. And I didn't realize how many millions of other people were trying to do the same thing. And I will say that back then, the young adult market was really hot and less saturated. So there was a lot of need. You know, a lot of the people I knew got book deals really quickly. It was just really fertile. And so, I mean, there was just like they were looking for content. It was pre-social media, you know, and basically, you know, the goal was to get into, there wasn't really even any ebooks. So, you know, if you wanted to get published, you had to go through the gatekeepers. You had to get an agent. There was no other way. I mean, indie publishing was just starting and it was so difficult and it was also looked down upon. So, you know, that was the only way. Like, why write if you couldn't get, that was the only way to get published then. So a lot of what we would do in my groups was figure out how, you know, we had to learn how to query agents, you know, the whole deal. And I actually was one of the first people in this forum for this very popular query software called Query Tracker. Like, it was very new in 2007, and there was a forum there. It was just a few of us. And so we were so dedicated that the guy gave us lifetime membership. So I have a lifetime membership to Query Tracker, but I don't use it anymore because I decided I don't want an agent anymore. But that's a whole story too.
Yeah, cool.
You
Well,
could ask me another question. Why? Why don't you want an agent anymore?
no,
Why? Doesn't everybody want an agent? Why don't you want an agent?
we may come back to that, but for now, let's dive into your
Okay, yeah.
series. You've got this series called the Lost Garden series.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did it come to be? What's it about?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, it is very, very loosely based on The Secret Garden. You heard of that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I've already established that I am not a young person, and I'm not ashamed of it because I'm switching genres to old people stuff. And I'm like, maybe I think I look a little younger than I am. But I've been around a while, and Zoom helps a little bit, you know, smooth thing out.
Get
I've
those
been
filters
around a
on.
lot. Yeah, got the filter action going. Yeah, I mean, but I will say I have kind of young energy. People tell me that because I'm immature. So so I was always obsessed with The Secret Garden. It was like I wasn't really that big of a reader as a kid, but that I had a picture book. And you know, people know the movie and they talk about that, but I had the actual book. And there may have been some old show that I saw, I can't remember, but I just love the idea of a hidden place. And I would say that this is something as a kid I always loved. I was a very imaginative, weird kid. And I used to like hope that I'd find a door somewhere that would lead to another world. I mean, you're a writer, you probably know exactly what I'm talking. We're all weird like that. So yeah, I was your typical weird person but you know, for me, my creativity always came out with art because that was something that I was good at, you know, and to me, language was like, okay, I was good at writing, but I didn't really consider it like worth my time. So I always loved The Secret Garden. And then one day, I don't know when and why, but I must have still lived in Manhattan. And I used to like to draw, and I used to sketch, you know, like I'd like to sketch flowers. And for some reason, and this could have been I don't remember when it was. It was a really long time ago, but I decided to go to this place in that sort of like part of Central Park. It's a little gated park called Covent Gardens. It's all the way up in the hundreds. It's not, Central Park is really huge, but this is like a gated park that feels like it's in England somewhere, right? It doesn't feel New York at all. It feels like really quaint and old, and has a secret garden. In the middle of it is this pond and a statue of Frances Hodgson Burnett or the character Mary and the people. And I was just sitting there drawing flowers, and I don't know, something lodged in my brain. And honestly, I don't know if that was 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't remember, but I know that right around the time when I released my very first book which is Breaking Glass, which was a thriller, somehow the idea flew into my head to do a retelling of The Secret Garden. So this was, let's see, my first book, Breaking Glass, came out 12 years ago, July 9th, 2013. So that's almost 12 years ago. And around that time, I came up with this idea. And I actually got my third agent because of that. Like, there's a whole agent story in there that I'm not telling you, because that's a whole other tangent. And it's not the happiest story, but I will say that, and I'm not with her either, but I got her based on selling her this idea of that book. And I didn't even know what that book was going to be. And I used to call it The Garden of Rosalie Gates. And I just knew that I wanted to have a weird garden somewhere. I had no idea, but I just love the idea of the secret garden. So that's where it started. And I will tell you that for 10 years, it was a disaster. It was the worst thing. It was just a horrible mess of a story. And I wrote a whole lot of other books but I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Do you want me to keep going and tell you how it got to where it is now?
Yeah. The floor's yours.
So, all right. So I wrote it. I don't even know if I finished it. I would write parts of it, and people would say to me, "Wow, the setting of the island is amazing. It's so visual. You're such a visual storyteller." I said, "Well, that's because I'm an artist and I don't know how to write. I just know how to describe things." And so, and then they would say, "It's really beautiful and we love it, but we hate Rosalie. She's so boring and she's horrible. And we don't care what happens to her." I'm like, "Oh God." And so I finished it actually. And my agent's like, oh, let's get it out there. I said, but I don't know. People hate Rosalie. She goes, no, but it's such a great premise. And she gets it out there, and it got rejected one by one. We hate Rosalie. And then it stopped short of this editor at, I guess she was at HarperCollins at the time. And she goes, why aren't you sending this to me? And my agent had to say, well, the writer doesn't want to send it because it's not good. And for years I would run into this editor. She goes, where's that book? Where is it? And I said, well, it's not working. It's not good. So I just put it aside. And finally in 2017, I wrote all these other things that my agent hated and she didn't want to sell. And she says to me, what about the Secret Garden book? And I'm like, it's bad. We can't sell it. And you don't know how to fix it. She goes, well, maybe I should step aside. I go, well, maybe you should. And so she did. And I go, the hell with that stupid book. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But in Pitch Wars is important because I met a couple of people who were mentors. And one of them was this woman named Heather Cashman, who became an agent. And she read the book and she said, okay, I know what's wrong with it. So she ripped it apart and she made it better, but not quite good enough. And then I met another person who really is the luckiest meeting I ever had, of meeting a person online and them becoming one of my best friends. And that's another writer. Her name is Emily Collin. And she is one of my very closest friends. And we have met in real life like a zillion times. And she actually read it, took it apart, and turned it into what it is today. She worked some kind of magic on it. And a lot of my other friends, so my new age critique group, my old critique group fell apart. And this was a new reconstituted critique group. And there's 6 of us. And, we read for each other and it's really helped. It's been 6-7 years of us. We got ourselves through the pandemic. So it was Emily and Angela and Christy and Sarah, my really good friends from this group. They helped make this book what it was. But then I really loved it. I was really happy with it. And I'm like, okay, so now I'll see if I could get these people to get an agent and get a book deal. And nobody wanted it. And I think that's because I missed the boat. Like if I had it in the shape it's in now, back then it maybe would have sold, but nobody's really that. YA is like on a decline. Teenagers don't read, and I guess it's not what sells now. It's just not the hot thing, and or maybe it isn't that good. I don't know. But I said, you know what? I practiced. I got the rights back to my first book, Breaking Glass, which I still love very, very, very much. I did the cover myself. I put it out there in 2022. I was terrified, but it was like my test balloon. I didn't care if it sold really. I just wanted to do it. So I did that. And so in 2024, I felt, okay, I got a cover. I think this book is as good as it's going to be. I'm going to get it out there. And so I won't say, I mean, Breaking Glass actually sold really well because it was with a publisher back in the day, and it got a lot of, YA was really hot then, and there was a lot of publicity. This, it's harder now. The algorithms are weird. TikTok is weird, but what I did do is I got myself a bunch of ARC readers, and they really liked it. And so, got the book out there. And, and they liked it so much that they kind of, I wouldn't say bullied me, persuaded me to write a prequel, because they wanted to know, why did you kill that nice boy in the first chapter? And we barely know him. So I'm like, oh, okay. Let me make you like him even more, so when he dies, you'll feel even worse. So I wrote that prequel. So I released An Island Strange and Wild in February 2024, and somehow, in some insane fit of lunacy, because I have a job, I'm a professor, I got a lot of work to do, and I can't I can't neglect that. I'm neglecting it right now because it's okay, tomorrow's the last final. Hi everybody, they're not paying attention. And they're just busy like making sure the work is done. And I somehow managed to get that prequel out in June of 2024. And then I did the dumbest thing ever. I set up a pre-order for book 2 in November 2024. And so I'm like, well, I'm a professor and I get summers off, so I'm just going to write that prequel. I'm not the prequel. I'm going to write book 2. And I had written a good part of it the year before, like even before book 1 was out, because that was ready, right? That was pretty much ready a year or so before. So I figured, let me write book 2. So I wrote book 2. I started writing book 2 in 2023, right? Was it the summer 2023? Yes. No. Sorry, I'm getting myself mixed up. Yes, I started writing it in the summer of 2023, but I didn't finish it. And then I had to finish edits for book 1. So I put it aside, but I'm thinking, well, it's mostly written, so I could release this in November, right? So, okay, fast forward summer 2024, I'm off, as of tomorrow, I'm off. Don't you hate me? I have like a very good job. And as of tomorrow, I am off until the end of August. I get to do what I want. But last summer, I started writing in July. And I'm like, okay, if I write this much every day, I'll get this thing done. It's half written. And then on August 1st, my chairperson calls me today. He's one of the people that came to my house and helped me put things together today. Very nice of him. He calls me on August 1st, 2024. He goes, your class didn't run. And I'm like, I should speak in his accent. He's Israeli, but I can't do it. Your class didn't run. I go, oh, good. So I don't have to teach 3 classes. I just have to teach 2. He goes, no, you have to teach this other class. You have to teach the beginning class that you haven't taught in 12 years.
Wow.
Okay, you have to do that. And not only did I have to do that, but I had to do all the prep in a brand new learning system. We give our courses in learning management systems, and there was one that I knew really well, and I had all the content. even though it was an old class, I could dredge it up, but I had to do it in brand new thing. So there went August, right? I was hysterical. That's all I did. I'd get up, I would like do the content for the class because I had to redo it. I didn't have any of the old stuff. I had to redo it. I had to align it with the adjunct that was teaching it. I just, and I was teaching another class, whatever. My summer got eaten up by work, and come back to school, I had a lot of stuff going on in the fall. We had the family events that we were going to. It was just so busy, and the book wasn't finished. Deadline approaching, right? So I'm like, what do I do? I tried to postpone the pre-order, right? And they would only let me do it by a month. So the drop dead date was December 12th. And if I didn't get it out by December 12th, Amazon was going to put me in some kind of bad writer jail. Like, you can't have a pre-order for like ever again or something. So I'm like, I gotta get it done. So, oh my God, that was a nightmare. Like, I'm teaching 3 classes. I mean, it was insane. I don't know how I did it. Oh, and beyond that, it was 600 pages long.
Oh.
So I'm like, when is this thing going to end? How do I end it? How can I write a book that's 600 pages long? What do I do? So I heard on some, I don't know, somewhere I was listening to something. I actually know where it is, but it's a whole other thing. I don't know. Or this TikTok guy that I follow, and like he says, he was telling somebody else, he goes, why are you writing such long books? If you broke your books up into smaller books, you would make more money because you'd have more books. And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. So I broke the book in half. And so where there was going to be a trilogy, now there's going to be 4. So that book did successfully release in December 2024, and I think it came out pretty good. And allegedly, I'm releasing book 3 at the end of this year. I say allegedly because I haven't looked at it, thought about it at all. And did I answer your question?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
You did. No, well, so I take it you do your own covers then, seeing as you're an artist?
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I do other people's covers too. I mean, that kind of slowed down a bit because there's a lot of people out there that work for pretty low prices, and I can't compete with that. So I just don't. I mean, if I can't get the money that I think I deserve, I'd rather not do it.
Yeah.
But I do have some regular clients that come back because they know I'm going to do a good job. And I do the covers for my friend Emily. I do her covers as a barter because she does my editing. So I've done 6 covers for Emily, but we both hired the same cover designer she had a book in a different genre, like it was a paranormal romance, and my cozy paranormal mystery. I decided I don't know how to do covers for that, so I hired this really lovely designer. Okay, and she's just about done with the cover. I'm not, she's still finishing it, so I can't reveal it yet, but I'm very happy with it. And I'm really glad I didn't do it myself.
So how far into the process of writing a book do you have the cover in your head? Like, do you know what the cover's going to look like, or do you write the book then decide what the cover's going to look like? Like, what's that process?
I don't even want to think about the cover until the book is written.
Yeah.
I mean, I dread it. I'm like terrified. I'm like, oh my God. I'm just very happy that I figured out these covers.
Yeah.
I sort of generated a lot of mock-ups in Midjourney AI, and it gave me the color scheme and a lot of the idea of it. But I will tell you that all of those things you see behind me are elements from the cover, and I drew them.
Yeah.
I drew them myself. I like the AI was an inspiration, but I actually drew the cover. I mean, there's a few little elements in there that I used, so don't
Yeah.
shoot me. I mean, I don't believe in using. I mean, look, I'm not going to get down on anybody for using AI.
Mm.
I believe when I used to design before AI, I would always use Shutterstock and things like that for
Yeah.
bits and pieces of stuff. And now, you could just make the thing. It's like it reminds me of this book that I love, the Raven Boys. You know, the Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. It's one
Oh,
of
I've
my
heard it. Yeah.
favorite authors. Yeah, and there's a character there named Ronan, I think is his name. He had a magical ability to pull things out of dreams. And to me, what AI is. So I don't like if
Yeah.
somebody would just make something in AI and just use it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's cheating and looks
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like if I want like, a weird little trinket that, like for instance, on my second book cover, I needed like a seahorse, a special kind of seahorse with a jewel. I drew it myself, but I just couldn't visualize this thing. So I got the AI to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a tool,
Yeah.
that I utilize.
Yeah. I find it's good for concepts. Like if you want to whip up a concept,
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's what I did with my
Oh
book.
my God.
I did a concept and I gave it to an artist and they tweaked it and made it look even better than what I
But
imagined. So,
that's how the cover that I did that I just had this designer do, I did some mock-ups in Midjourney and
mm,
I knew what I wanted. I knew the colors and I had it run some things and she beautifully designed something based on that. And then after she did it, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm such a fool. I forgot to tell you to add paranormal elements to it. I mean, don't hate me. I actually offered her more money, but she hasn't
mm,
said give me more money. She just,
yeah.
and you know what I did? I even stuck the cover she did into ChatGPT, which actually is really good at, like I use all of them. I use Midjourney, you know, I mean, I'm giving myself away, but ChatGPT like help me design my bathroom because what it does is it'll leave things and change other things. It's like Midjourney's crazy. It'll just
Yeah.
do weird things, but ChatGPT is much more conservative. So I stuck the cover in there. I said, make this paranormal. And it added little sparkles and stuff. And I sent that to her. And she was able to, revise the cover and add these elements in there, things that she made it much better than the AI. The AI was horrible. You wouldn't use it
Yeah.
for anything. It looked like AI, but she
Mm.
she was able to see what I wanted. So it was a really good process, I think.
Cool. So what's next? What's next for you? More Secret Gardens, or are you planning on another series?
Well, I think I kind of outed myself. I have to finish this series. As I said, there's two more
Yep.
books. So the third book, I mean, there's three right now, but one of them is, the prequel. It's very short, and it's only an ebook. So the biggest thing that's coming is that I'm going to be in this reader event called Literary Love Savannah this July. And it's unfortunately the last year they're doing it. It's
Mm.
been going on for 15 years and it's really quite a big hullabaloo. And we're actually doing our own party there, which we're calling, I did a whole bunch of branding for it, because I design a lot of stuff. So I designed a whole like fancy invitations for this thing. So, I'm hoping that I could meet some nice readers there. I'm also hoping that to release this mystery book in June or July, but I don't know. I'm like still editing it. I just been moving really slow. Last year I was like, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
This year I'm just puttering along. But I do have the cover soon. The cover
Mm.
will be out soon. So maybe that'll spur things on. I'll get people excited. So
Mm.
I definitely want this to be a series. I want to kind of embody the brand. because it's very quirky, and I'm very quirky and kind of silly. You see, I'm a little silly, and I just don't usually like to go onto TikTok and talk or anything. But I feel like maybe with this kind of series, I could be more myself, because I just feel like my whole persona doesn't go with the Island Strange and Wild at all. That's really mysterious, and it's moody, and it's beautiful and lyrical and all the things. I am not those things. I am not a person you want promoting a dark, moody book. I'm a goofball.
Yeah.
I'm an old goofball, but my mystery series, I think I'm the perfect person because the characters are kind of like different sides of me, you know? So I just feel like I could I could really do it up, So I'll see. Hopefully I have the nerve to not just be talk. But I feel like this is a big change for me. So I really love these garden books. I love writing them. I actually love writing them more than the mystery because I love fantasy. I love the romance. I love the whole world that I've created. I love being in it. So I love writing it, but then the promoting it is a challenge. So that's all I have right now. I'm not a big like multi-year planner. I'm at the point in my life where I know that it's kind of like, I've accomplished a lot in my life. I've had a good career. I'm going to retire. And, the thing I would like to do more of is my art. I do art that is not at all commercial. That's just weird and and intricate. And I want to do more of that. Like I hope to really be more serious about that. And and maybe just focus more on the writing. I mean, I'm going to keep writing, like regardless if I'm selling or not. I just have to, you know. So I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with another series, because I do think if I want to write another fantasy, it's not going to be young adult, and I cannot do romantasy because I love reading it, but I don't think I could write it because I just don't write that steamy stuff that well. It's just not me. Like people, when I talk about the steam level of Island, which is people say, oh yeah, it's very PG-13. I go, absolutely. But people tell me it's new adult. People tell me it's NA, which is more popular now. So I guess in that genre, maybe that's the direction I'll go. And I might even try to rebrand the books as NA because the characters are 18, they're going into college, so it's kind of really upper YA, And the steam level, as I say, is hot chai tea. Got a little cinnamon in there. There's a little steam coming up, but that's about it. That's it. It's implied what's happening, but it's not. You don't really get to get all the graphic details, which honestly I hate reading that stuff. I just really like Fourth Wing. I liked Fourth Wing, but then I get to these scenes in Fourth Wing, I go like,
put it away.
I don't want to know that.
Glue the pages together.
Yeah. I don't know, but people love that. And I don't like reading that, I like imagining that, but I don't need to have the words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
what I mean? Like I'll let my imagination do the work.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now I do have a final question before we let you go. Because you're a professor, do your students read your books? Do they know that you are an author?
They know, and it's a little awkward. I've had students read my books. My colleague, she's she's a lab assistant, and she's a really good artist in her own right, but she doesn't write, but she does do graphic novels and stuff like that. And she read my book. She read it, And the poster that I have, that I have a poster that I don't know, I don't have it here, but I had a poster made. I commissioned some art for this poster, and I don't know if he actually ever read it. Now I think about it, but my form, we like to grow our own, so to speak, at BCC.
Yep.
We enlist our students to become tutors, and 4 of them have become teachers. So he is now a professor. He's a fellow professor, but he did the art. But there's been smatterings of students. They know what I do. I mean, nobody's, it's New York. It's like, oh, you wrote a book. Yeah, good for you. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, nice for you. All I know is that I got to make sure. Look, the main thing for me is that I cannot have a cover that's embarrassing, because I just have to model that I have a good looking cover. Like my students think I'm more concerned about the cover than reading the book.
Yeah.
But again, it's awkward. I can't go around and say, hey, I'm a professor. I wrote a book. A lot of professors write books. That's what they do.
That's true. Yeah.
If you could throw a stone and there's a professor on the campus that wrote a book.
Yeah.
Like even in my department, there's people who've written books. So it's like, big deal. You wrote a book. Okay, who cares?
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been really
great.
fun. Oh, see, I went past 10 o'clock. I can't shut up. I love podcasts. It's like, yay, you get a chance to just ramble on about yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Do you want to let our listeners and viewers know where they can follow you and keep up to date with everything you're doing?
Well, I have a website, lisaamowitz.com, which doesn't get updated that much. I do have a newsletter you could subscribe to on there, and I will occasionally send something out. But probably the best place is Instagram, where it's lisa.amowitz_author. And occasionally there's a TikTok. I actually have an assistant now, Nancy, because I'm so bad at social media. I just don't like it. I do it. I go through phases where I'm on it more. These days, it's just, I don't know. It's exhausting, don't you think? Right?
Yes.
Oh,
well, guys, thanks for listening. thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com if you want to reach out. All our links are down in the show notes. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.